All right, so bell ringer for today, just reviewing what we went over yesterday. Okay, so with the game, we just finished that up. Describe how rolling dice is similar to how European countries took over African territories during the age of imperialism. There we go. I'm going to try to fix the screen. Oh, it does this. So describe how rolling the dice is similar to how European countries took over African territories during the age of imperialism. There we go. Remember current events? We have Kevin and Chris. Okay. Guys watched that Chiefs game yesterday, the Ravens.
I watched it.
Yeah, I watched it till halftime. That was it. That was it. Patrick Mahomes looked good. Any more time? We good?
You're good.
Okay. Describe how rolling dice is similar to how European countries took over African territories during the age of imperialism. So how was it similar? How did that game relate to how these European countries took them over? What do we think? What do we think? Colin?
That if you roll like a bigger number, you have it take over the country, such as like that bigger armies would take over the.
Okay, yeah, good job. So rolling the dice, I mean, let's just face it, these European countries, they could just take what they wanted, right? These African tribes didn't have the ability to fight back against these European countries. And, as you're rolling the dice, it just shows that they didn't really talk to them at all. They didn't invite them to the conference, which we're going to talk a little bit about today, the Berlin Conference, okay, of 1885, and how these European countries all got together, and they're going to divide up Africa and really just separate it with these European countries. It's like, hey, you guys have this territory, that territory. Okay, whatever is involved in that territory, obviously you can extract the resources, do what you want with it. And we'll talk about some of the atrocities later about what actually happened in Africa and many of the problems that emerged from this age of imperialism. But rolling dice, okay, again, it's just it's that you guys is for the choosing. It's just for, like the European countries. As you choose a territory, you look at it, it's like, okay, let's see who rolls the dice. Whoever has a larger number is going to claim that territory, and that's what really happened. Okay, they kind of all got together and decided amongst themselves which European country would take this territory. Okay, if the resources inside of them are obviously better, okay, it was obviously a higher number, and that was one that many of these European countries would want or desire. Okay. Okay, with rolling the dice, if you have a larger number, like you said, you're gonna have a stronger military. You have the ability to take that territory with ease and no problem. Okay, and if you rolled a low number, obviously your military supplies, soldiers, troops, okay, they weren't available for that territory. But for the next one, who knows? You might have rolled a larger one. So that means your military was strong at the time, and you're able to take that territory over, no problem. All right, is there any questions on that, guys? All right, so I think we reviewed it pretty well, and I think the game really just showed exactly how a scramble for Africa actually happened, all right, and how this was a good relation and correlation to the scramble for Africa. All right, so we'll go over the political cartoon towards the end of class. I just want to go over some notes. Well, actually, vocab terms first. There's only two of them I want to go over. And the one we already know really well. Okay, jingoism. Jingoism, that's probably one you never heard of. And then the Rough Riders. Okay, we know that. So jingoism and the Rough Riders. I'll give you some time to do that, and we'll discuss it, go over it. All right, so what is jingoism? What does that mean? What does that mean? Chris, go ahead. Yeah, good job. So extreme patriotism. It's to the point that these military, these countries are using their military to expand and really show their patriotism in a way that's demanding and aggressive. Okay, so in a way, it goes along well with what nationalism is. Okay, we'll talk about nationalism when we get to World War I. So it's extreme pride or patriotism in your own country, knowing that your country is the best, and the military that you're going to use and that you have is you're going to use that at all costs, to the point where you're going to use it to expand your territory, your sphere of influence, gain resources, whatever it might be. But it's extreme patriotism, okay, to a point you're using aggressive tactics to take what you want. That goes along well with what imperialism is and nationalism, okay? Right. Rough Riders. We know what the Rough Riders are. Rooster. Yeah, good job. Right. So cavalry unit, we knew that. Teddy Roosevelt led them during the Spanish-American War. San Juan Hill. We'll talk about that when we get to the Spanish-American War. Any questions? Just those two. Okay. Moving on. Moving on. All right, so do you guys remember the reasons for imperialism? The first one, what we talked about? I think we only talked about two. What's one, Colin?
U.S. wanted raw materials found in foreign countries.
Yeah, good job. So they wanted raw materials found in these foreign countries. Good job. All right. So especially sugarcane when we talk about the expansion into Hawaii. Okay, and with the Spanish-American War, the Philippines, the Caribbean islands, sugarcane was a huge resource that the United States wanted to try to monopolize in the world market. Okay, good job. So raw materials, resources, okay, that are found in other areas and territories that the U.S. wants. Okay, they oftentimes don't grow in the United States, so you need to go find a place where it does grow. Okay, and then the other thing, European countries started doing it first, and that was the relationship with the Scramble for Africa. That's why I wanted to try to play that game and show you the European countries were expanding into Africa, taking resources and territories for their advantage. And we already talked the United States, okay, with the Spanish-American War, expanding into the Pacific Islands, okay, going out to the Asian markets, and then even into Central and South America. All right, we talked about extractive economies. Okay, what is that again? What are extractive economies? Chase, do you remember? Yeah, there you go. Good job. So they're these imperialistic countries. When they go into these islands, okay, these territories, they're taking the resources from them, and they're making a finalized product in their own country, right? Okay, they're fueling their industries, fueling their factories. Good job. All right. Oh, here is the map of what actually happened with the scramble for Africa. Okay, what countries controlled which territories in Africa. All right. As you look at it, I know it's tough to see between Spain and Britain, but for the most part, Britain was the strongest country at the time, and they controlled a lot of land, especially along the rivers, okay, the waterways. Right? And why do you think they controlled these areas there? What do you think? Why the riverways along waterfronts? What's the point of that? What do you think, Brittany? Trade, yeah. So you can extract those resources quicker and faster. If you're located right in the middle here, the Belgian Congo, yeah, it was in the game. It was worth a lot of points because of the resources it has to offer. But how are you going to get those resources out? Right? How are you going to try to pull those resources to transportation and to a waterfront, to the ocean? It's going to be hard to do. And if you're going to do that, you're going to have to try to spend a lot of money in order to set up railroads, okay? Build roads, bridges to try to connect these resources to a waterfront, to take that back to your country. So this term of imperialism is a little bit different than colonization. Right? What's the difference between colonization and imperialism? What do you think? What do you think? Chase, go ahead.
Colonization is always like taking over the place. But imperialism is taking over the whole thing.
Yeah, so colonization, you're trying to establish yourself in that territory, right? You're spending a lot of money, a lot of resources to try to build it up to a point where you can have settlements there, right? Where you can try to maybe assert your presence in that area, building, let's say, for public services, schools, okay, roads, bridges, transportation, right? With imperialism, they're not doing that. They're just like, listen, we're just going to try to put these factories here to a point where we're going to extract the resources from these areas, force the people as slaves there, and we're not going to build roadways. We're not going to try to improve the infrastructure there. We're not going to try to build schools or businesses. It's just to the point where we're just pulling these resources out, and that's it. Okay, there might be railroads, obviously, to take these resources to, let's say, a river or the ocean for transportation, but for the most part, they're not trying to set up a colony. They're not trying to establish themselves there for a long haul. They're not going to try to provide public services to these people. It's just one business, okay? It's only one reason that they're there is to extract resources, make money, make profit, okay? So like I said, France, okay, they kind of fell short of this. Yeah, although they are close to oceans and everything, but this is all just a desert. Nothing really a benefit to them. And we'll talk about Germany here. All right, Germany is going to come in a little bit late. because they'll unify right around the mid-1800s, and they just use their military to really kick the Berlin Conference out of the way. They're just going to take as much territory and land as possible and really not abide by the rules. That's going to lead to World War I. Okay. All right, we already talked about extractive economy. So diamonds in African mine turn into diamonds in U.S. jewelry stores, okay, in the marketplace. They're going to extract the resources from these areas, make a nice product out of it that they can sell for a lot of money, a big profit. Okay, that's the goal. That's the goal. That's what these extractive economies are set up for. All right, rubber was a big resource as well, especially as we're shifting towards this industrial age. And a lot of these countries are expanding their military. Okay, when they're using or they're extracting these rubber trees to make this finalized product as tires, okay, and ways of implementing that into their society, obviously with cars, military equipment, you name it. All right, so more reasons. The last one, military bases, okay, military bases. All right, so military bases, we know the benefits for that already. You're going to try to create a shield for your country to try to protect it from outside invaders. Try to prevent the fight from getting onto your home soil, right? And we want to try to establish ourselves to a point where we can protect ourselves before the fight gets to our borders. Also, we can keep an eye on other countries throughout the whole world. As you can see, the United States military bases in the early 2000s, we have a defense system. We have the ability to really keep an eye on the whole world. Okay, we can make sure that this fight never reaches our borders. Okay, and we can try to restrict other countries from expanding or imperializing other areas, right, or taking over other countries. It's like we have an eye on everybody, right, Chris? Yeah. So not only extracting resources, okay, not only spreading our influence in these areas, but establishing military bases, how to try to protect our own borders. Yeah. And that's where we'll finish off. We'll talk about key figures in American imperialism more tomorrow. Matthew Perry, right? The guy from Friends, Chandler. We'll talk about him more tomorrow. Is there any questions on that, guys? All right, just make sure you remember those 3 points. All right. European countries were doing it first. We had to catch up. All right. 2, resources, and then 3, military bases. All right. Military bases. Okay. Next thing. Oh, I want to go over to political cartoon. Hopefully you turn that in. All right, real quick, guys. So this goes along with colonization. This goes along with imperialism, okay, and how these European countries are expanding past their own borders. So who wants to try to describe this political cartoon from yesterday? What do we have here? Haley Klinger, what do you got? Yeah, good job. So this one especially is supposed to represent Great Britain. It could really represent anything, but let's just say Great Britain for the time. And these colonies are acting like maids, acting like servants almost to the home country. And this really just builds on the idea of the extractive economies, okay, and how they're there to serve the mother country, the United States, Great Britain, whatever European country it might be. So they're providing them with gold and silver, okay? So with raw materials and even manpower, okay? When we talk about World War I, it's a world conflict just because these imperialized areas. Right? There's people from Australia fighting in this war in Europe and in the Middle East and in parts of Africa, okay? Great Britain especially using people from India, right? Taking these people from India and fighting them in Europe to try to help their cause. Realistically, these people in India, do they know what the war is really about? No, not at all. What about in Australia? No, not at all. But they're involved because Great Britain has and acquired these territories, imperialized these areas, and it comes to a point where it's almost unethical. They're using these people that have no involvement with this war to fight for it, okay? And you'll see a lot of people just kind of leaving the home front. It's like, why are we fighting this war? It doesn't make any sense, okay? People from Canada even, all right, being involved in World War I, and they really don't even know why they're involved, okay? What the causes really were, what they were. It was just that Great Britain controlled them, so they had to go fight. Is there any question on that political cartoon? It's pretty self-explanatory. Pretty self-explanatory. All right, that's it. That's it. I'll play the video. We won't get through all of it, but I'll play it for you. It's just a review of what the Scramble for Africa was. Oh, here's a picture of jingoism. Sorry about that. I wanted to show you that. So here's a picture of jingoism. So United States, Uncle Sam, obviously sleeping on his chair. He's like, oh, you know, just resting easy at night. But realistically, with the expansion of the United States, especially in the mid-1800s, moving up to the 1900s, even after World War II, I guess, but more in particular, the end of the 1800s and beginning of 1900s, the United States and how they use their military to expand past their own borders and claim as much territory as possible, okay? And again, jingoism, using your military, their aggressive nature for extreme patriotism and expansion of the United States. Okay, remember, survival of the fittest, right? Social Darwinism. That's what this whole period was all about. All right, is there any questions on that? Good? Chris, you good? That guy whooped you last night. Looks like you're tired. I think he whooped you up. That's why you're a little tired right now. Jeez.